And if you said that the IPL will be conducted just in Mumbai, we'll see the same wickets being used over and over and over and over again, and spin becomes a huge part of the IPL at that point, which we saw in UAE as well. Towards the back, I think we spoke about this, Yuvraj, that this would happen, and it did. Okay, guys, hello, welcome to Top Edge Podcast. This is our second episode. Technically, you'll see this before the last one because of the timing that this is filmed. And today we'll be discussing about the IPL, the auction, which is coming up this weekend, the 12th and the 13th. We'll discuss which team needs what decisions were made in terms of retentions, what are the right decisions. And I'm joined by two of my very good friends, Yuvraj, Ranchal, and Vedeesh, Bali. Guys, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Yuvraj. I'm a student at Queen Mary University of London, and I've been playing cricket for the past 10 years. I'm really passionate about it and really looking forward to this podcast.
I'm Vedeesh. I am studying at King's, and I've been playing cricket since I was about 12 or 13 years old, many different formats. And I am quite interested by the idea of this podcast. Looking forward to contributing to it.
Perfect. Okay, guys. So we'll start by talking about the retentions, right? So there's a lot of controversy, a lot of conversation about retentions. Probably one of the biggest ones I can put my mind to is the Mumbai Indians one.
Pandya was certainly a big surprise, but apart from that, I was really shocked by the decision of not retaining Trent Bolt.
I felt that Mumbai went with emotion on this one by retaining players who will probably not be playing for them in about 2 or 3 years. And I think the trend which most teams have gone with is some experience and some youngsters. And I don't see Mumbai having done that this time.
So you don't think they've picked Pollard through the experience angle of things?
I think they have, but knowing that he might not be around in 3 or 4 years or provide the kind of quality which he has been providing until now. I mean, it's okay to go with emotion when you're a franchise which has been so successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have probably wanted a youngster in those 4.
So who are you thinking? Maybe someone like Ishaan Kishan?
Probably. He's a good keeping prospect, good opener. I would have gone with Ishaan Kishan, definitely.
What about Hardik Pandya? Someone so integral to the core. Some might argue he offers a very similar dimension of cricket to that of Kieron Pollard. Why not Pollard? Sorry, why not Hardik? Because with Hardik, you get an Indian player. That's also worth considering. Sure. With Pollard, you're getting an overseas player, somebody who we haven't seen the best of in the last 2-3 seasons. I'm pretty sure you both will agree. Yes, he started to contribute a little bit more with the ball, but that's not his role. His role is with the bat, and he's not scoring runs. We see one innings from Pollard per IPL season. Is his captaincy brain, is his intelligence and experience enough of a reason to retain him over some quality like Hardik or Ishaan Kishan?
I think in case of Hardik, he lost a lot with his fitness. So if he's not bowling, then I think the Indian team did try him out as a pure finisher. And while that worked in Australia, he's going to have to be a lot more consistent to establish himself as a pure batsman in the team.
I think the T20 World Cup was an example of that. He came in as a pure finisher and he struggled. I think that was... Yes,
I too would like to back Vedeesh. Like, Pollard is a proper batsman. Like, if you get him in the team, his role is to finish the games, and he's a proper batsman. Whereas Hardik is a package when he's taken as an all-rounder. Alone batsman, his capabilities are good, but it cannot be, integral enough to be included in the 11. So I think that was one of the uncertainty of Hardik Pandya not bowling 4 overs was one of the big reasons that he was not retained.
Okay. So I feel as though Mumbai have gone with the approach of backing loyalty. Players that have been with their team for the past 4 or 5 years. Pollard has been with their team for the past decade, I think. Long time. So let's see how that fares. Personally, I think we all agree that there should have been a different approach towards the selection. But I think that leads us quite nicely onto the new teams, Ahmedabad and Lucknow. So now Hardik is captain of Ahmedabad.
Yes.
Thoughts on that, gentlemen? What are your thoughts?
I think he was really trusted to, take up the captaincy role. There are some rumors that he also wanted to captain Mumbai Indians, but obviously, if you have a captain like Rohit Sharma, you wouldn't want to take any chances who has made the franchise the most, successful one, winning 5 IPL trophies. So that was a bold question even to ask from Hardik's side. But getting into Ahmedabad would give him an opportunity to try out his captaincy skills. And also another aspect that he shared, that he was really excited to work with Ashish Nehra, who is the head coach of Ahmedabad, to work on his bowling. So maybe that's one of the reasons that he shifted to Ahmedabad.
Okay. And Ahmedabad's sorry, go on, Vedeesh.
If Hardik is fit, and I have no idea about his captaincy, but if he can establish himself as a good captain, then I think that's his best way of getting back into the Indian team.
So do you think that Hardik is looking at this IPL as a platform to try and get back into the Indian team rather than perform for the franchise? Is that his aim?
Potentially, like it all depends on how fit he is.
Yeah.
And if he can at least bowl 2 or 3 overs along with perform consistently with the bat over the course of the season and actually captain well, you don't see that many all-rounders as captains because I think they already have a lot on their plate. So I'll be very interested. I'll be following Hardik and see how he goes about it.
Because I think now India started to look past Hardik somewhat. I think for the last maybe 3 years or so, it was all Hardik, trying to get Hardik into the test setup. He did well in South Africa. But now they've tried Shardul. Shardul's had success. While Shardul is a far better bowler, his batting is lackluster compared to that of Hardik. Yes, he scored runs, but is he a batsman? I don't think he is. He's somebody who can bat.
True.
Same with Deepak Chahar. He's an incredible bowler. I think he's someone that India will invest heavily in the next 4 or 5 years. I think Chahar is a really good future. But again, even though he can bat, his last 2 innings for Indian limited overs have been 50s. Is that something we expect from Chahar? I don't think it is. I don't think we can expect him to deliver that on a consistent basis. Whereas with Hardik, we do. When the team is in crisis, we need Hardik to score runs. So I think that's the problem. But with him, the bowling is the issue. It always has been. And I think right now, the direction the Indian cricket have taken to in Test cricket or limited overs cricket is bowling teams out. When Virat was captain, he was very evident with the fact that we want to take 20 wickets. We want to bowl teams out. We want to take middle over wickets. And if Hardik isn't able to bowl, is he a liability to the team? Is he somebody that gets into the team? Anyways, moving on from that, because we've talked too long about that. What do we think about Ahmedabad's retentions? Sorry, their picks for this year.
So Ahmedabad's picks are Hardik Pandya. We've already talked about him. Then it comes to Rashid Khan.
Yeah.
It was really interesting for Sunrisers not picking him up because of the amount of some of the reasons that were put by him. But he's certainly a very good package for the new franchise like Ahmedabad. He, according to me, is the best T20 bowler. Like, there's no better leg spinner in world cricket than him in T20 format. Besides that, he can also add some valuable runs down the order. Like, he has some useful batting abilities. And apart from that, the third one was Shubman Gill. Again, a really, really talented youngster, a good future for Indian cricket and can provide you stability up the order. So I think the picks Ahmedabad did was aiming at getting all the,
3
sectors,
bases covered.
covered. Like, you have an opening batsman, you have a good all-rounder and a proper T20 star bowler.
I think that's a very, very astute point you've made there. That Ahmedabad have gone with covering every single base. And I think personally, they've done that pretty well. Hardik is probably one of the best Indian all-rounders in the world. After Ravindra Jadeja, I would say. So I think that's pretty good from their side. What do you think, Vedeesh?
I agree. I like the fact that they made an effort to cover all their bases.
Yeah.
Because they have Rashid already. Shubman is going to be someone who's going to be a big part of that franchise probably in the future. And Hardik as well. So Ahmedabad, I'm excited to see who they pick up for the quick bowlers.
Yeah. Because we just saw the Ahmedabad wicket today. Anyone who watched the West Indies game today, the wicket is fast. There's a lot of pace in the new Ahmedabad stadium. So, and it spins a lot.
But again, question that rises is that due to the COVID, most of the matches are thought of being conducted in only Mumbai. Okay. And if it doesn't get conducted in India, it will be shifted to South Africa, where again, pace will be very, very important.
Yeah. But I think the holistic picture here is no team can focus on just strengthening one asset of their team.
True.
There needs to be a holistic approach towards making the right and creating the right balance within the squad. So moving on from Ahmedabad, we look at Lucknow. Lucknow is owned by the Goenka Group, which I think were also the owners of the Pune group, the Pune team previously.
Yeah.
Same name they've gone for. How do we feel about their picks?
Their picks, like starting with Rahul as the captain, like good captain, but again doesn't have a really good captaincy record in IPL specifically as a captain.
Someone
So
was learning, I think.
I think, but if you're a new franchise, you would want someone who has been tested and has given you results. But again, from my point, a good decision for keeping the future prospects in mind as Rahul as captain. Besides that, Ravi Bishnoi, that is, I think, completely based on the likes of Rahul, because he really trusted Bishnoi in his days at Punjab Kings.
Yeah.
So, and the kind of trust he has in Ravi Bishnoi is one of the main reasons for him being picked. And I'm missing who was the third pick for Lucknow. Stoinis. Again, a world established best batting all-rounder in the world cricket T20 format, according to me. Seeing his performances in the Big Bash and the T20 World Cup that recently happened, he can give you some really, really useful 2-3 overs in the middle and give you both finishing abilities down the order, and he can open as well. So again, a very good investment.
What do you think, Vedeesh?
What I really liked about their picks was that they've established their batting core, because Stoinis and Rahul both can open, they can bat in the middle. So I think those are two very wise choices, and not the first ones that would have come to mind. Not Rahul, but when it comes to Stoinis and Bishnoi.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they were not in the top 3 for too many people would have predicted. But I'm glad to see Bishnoi being retained. As Yuvraj said, it's probably because of the trust which he got. I am surprised that Bishnoi chose to leave Anil Kumble's expertise, though.
Well, very well said. Yes, we've said that Bishnoi has been picked because of the likes that KL has towards him. In your opinion, was that the correct pick? Do you reckon there are other players that could have perhaps fit the balance a little bit more? Some uncapped Indians or some players, even overseas players, that you think perhaps could have been picked instead of Bishnoi? Because like you said, he's not the first name that comes to anybody's mind.
I would have really, the first thought that I had for Lucknow was to pick Ishaan Kishan, because like we said, he's a really, really good prospect, and he gives you both a really dynamic, batting ability towards inbuilt in him. So not picking up by any of the franchise really surprised me. And like I said, Bishnoi is clearly picked on the basis of his likes that he has from Rahul.
What about somebody like a Pat Cummins or, a huge name not being picked? Somebody like a Trent Bolt. Because Bishnoi has done well in the past couple of seasons, but he hasn't done something to blow us away with, first of all. These guys are trial and tested. These guys are probably, in my opinion, top 5 fast bowlers in the world, Trent Bolt, and across formats.
True.
So not heading in that direction was a bit bizarre for me specifically. But like you said, it's all about creating the perfect harmony within the team. And if having somebody that Rahul trusts, an Indian player who doesn't occupy an overseas position, is the way forward, then I can see why that was preferred. Right, back to our existing teams or our previous teams. Now we look at Delhi Capitals, a team that both of you can relate with. What are our thoughts about the retentions?
From retentions point of view, I'm somewhat happy with the retentions. I'm still a bit skeptical about retaining Akshay Patel. Like, he did really good for the franchise, yes, but letting someone like Dhawan go, who has been a consistent performer for the franchise, like he has an average score of 533 runs in the past 5 seasons, and leaving that stability that he gives up the order and the experience, that was really surprising for me. But besides that, Pant is a pure match winner and someone around which the Delhi team is being built on. And except that, Norkia, someone who can click 156 kilometers per hour, a bowler like that is really, really handy for the team. And for the fourth being Prithvi Shaw. Good decision, but again, he's a very hit and miss player. If he is in form, he can give you really, really, like, he can win you 5 to 6 matches on his own. But again, if he's not in his form, he can be a liability for the team. So I'm really surprised by them not retaining Shikhar Dhawan. And besides that, I think they are really interested in getting David Warner this time. Like, there have been rumors that Delhi are really, really looking forward getting David Warner this time. So that would be interesting as well.
Going back to his old franchise, because that's where he started his IPL journey.
Yes.
Exactly.
Vedeesh, what do you think? Are you happy with that?
I think there was always a little bit of who will it be between Rabada and Nokia. And I think they chose Nokia solely on the basis of his form last season when Rabada was perhaps not as consistent. But again, I mean, getting any one of the two is a big plus for their side. Akshay Patel, again, I was a bit surprised. He has done well, but if Rishabh Pant and the Delhi management sees him as a future prospect who will be there for a while, then it's a good investment. Prithvi Shaw, I think he will learn a lot with experience because he had seen only highs until 2018. And when the lows came, I think that will make him a much better player now.
I personally feel, I think somewhat not disagreeing, but just a slight variation in thought is, I think Akshay Patel was a great pick. That's somebody I'm putting down straight away. I just think he's a dynamic player. He's a good fielder. I think his bowling is insane. He's very economical. I think he's just a smart cricketer in general. You won't put him as a batsman who can win you matches, but he can definitely contribute. He's somebody who knows how to bat. But yeah, when you think of Akshay Patel, it's not the first thing that you think about, that he's a batsman or he can contribute with the bat, but he has ability. Prithvi Shaw was the one I would have been like a little bit skeptical about instead of Dhawan. I can understand why the move was made. Dhawan is probably in the latter stages of his career. Prithvi probably in the infancy of his career, so it makes sense to invest in the youth. Somebody who is performing for sure, maybe not to the level as Dhawan is, but again, we're comparing Prithvi Shaw against one of the best openers India has had in the last decade or so, in limited overs specifically. But yeah, like you said, Yuvraj, quite aptly, he is a hit and miss. I don't think when he walks out, it's somebody, as I'm not a Delhi fan, but I think you are. It's not somebody I bank on. If I'm watching Delhi and if I need Delhi to win a match, it's not like somebody I look at and be like, this is the guy.
Yeah,
Dhawan is.
Exactly.
Something I was extremely shocked about was not the retention of Shreyas Iyer. I think that goes towards his desire to captaincy.
True, yeah.
But I think it's somebody that is going to form the core of the Indian middle order in the future. I think Shreyas is an exceptional batsman. I think he's a really cool customer. I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. And when he did captain Delhi for the brief space, I think he did a pretty decent job. Yes. I think Pant is somebody who is going to learn. I'm not saying he can't be a good captain, but I think the success Delhi had is largely owed to Ricky Ponting as opposed to Rishabh Pant. What are your thoughts?
Yes. I think the revival of Delhi Capitals, rather, was completely based on the combination of Ricky Ponting as coach and Shreyas Iyer the captain. Like, it was Delhi, the culture that was brought inside Delhi, the winning spirit and youngsters playing a huge role in the victories of the team was something that was instilled by Shreyas Iyer the captain. Shreyas Iyer was not available due to some injury. Only then Pant was, appointed as the captain. But I think overall, Shreyas Iyer was way ahead as a captain. He was more mature and understood the game in a better way. Then Pant is more of an instinctive captain, I believe. Then Iyer was a more planned one.
Vedeesh, thoughts?
Agree. I definitely think that it was Ponting's main contribution, because if you look at even until like 3 or 4 years ago, you would not have put Delhi in the top 4 teams of the IPL, and recently they've been in the top 2. So I think it was Iyer and Ponting's contribution to that. And I think banking on Pant as your captain based on 3/4 or 1 full season, which Delhi did well, of course. It's a bit risky, but again, Pant is someone you could trust in the future. So I'm fairly happy with it.
I think Indian cricket influences the IPL a lot. I think way more than it should, first of all. I think with Rishabh Pant being a multi-format cricketer for India, playing across all 3 formats, and Iyer at this moment in time not. He's just debuted in Test cricket. Even in limited overs, he's in and out. I think that must have swayed the decision a little bit. I think Pant is a brand. I think he is a brand in India. Iyer isn't. Iyer is a well-recognized cricketer in India. He's not a brand like Rishabh Pant is.
True.
So I think that's another direction that the Delhi Capitals could have taken, in the sense that go with somebody who's trending, go with somebody who will bring the numbers, go with somebody who's a bit, dynamic as an individual. But for me, I think, given what you two have said, you agree as well. I think they've somewhat missed a trick keeping Iyer, because I think Iyer is sensible. I think when you're 10 for 2, Iyer is the man, not
True.
Pant. Moving on, let's look at Sunrisers Hyderabad. We've already spoken about this. Let Rashid Khan. Letting go of Rashid Khan, I think, was a huge opportunity missed. I think he's somebody who's can be credited to all their success in the recent past.
True.
Games where they haven't played well, you'll always see Rashid Khan come out on top. I think there'll be maybe only 4 or 5 matches through the duration of the entire season where Rashid Khan doesn't perform. He either picks up wickets or contains in the middle, allowing other people to take wickets. So what do you think happened there?
So in case of Sunrisers Hyderabad, first of all, what they did to Warner was very bizarre and shocking. Like a captain who has brought team to such a huge platform and is the reason for the most of the success of the franchisee, leaving him and discarding him rather was it really disheartening. And Kane Williamson, no doubt, is a world-class player and he's proved his worth as a captain. But removing Warner like this was really sad according to me.
Disrespectful for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And letting go of Rashid Khan, it was basically on the amount he was asking to be retained. Like he wanted to be the first retention and asking for 16 crores, but SRH were really inclined towards Kane Williamson being the first retention. So I think, money does play a part in the retention, but again, they could have managed to crack a deal with Rashid, because the kind of match winner he has been for the franchisee and all the teams that he has played for is really, really shocking for me for letting him go. And the other 2 players that are retained, Umran Malik
and Abdul Samad.
Just according to me, a bowler who is picked on the basis of his pace. He's an Indian bowler who bowls at 150 kilometers an hour, but doesn't have the experience that is required to tackle the success that is required in IPL. And Abdul Samad again is a good player who is, known for his hitting abilities, but again, he has not proved his worth enough for the franchisee to, give solid reason for him to be retained. So again, Sunrisers Hyderabad of all the franchises have disheartened me and surprised me the most, just leaving Kane Williamson aside. So yeah, I really look forward to make their team. Like we saw the last season, they did not have any middle order batsmen like that they could rely on. It was only top 3: Bairstow, Williamson, Roy. And after these 3, the team collapsed. It was just Holder that gave some hope
Manish
down the order.
Pandey in and out of the team. I think even with Manish Pandey, they were disrespectful at times. I think he was dropped, then he was brought in. He was batting 5, then he was batting 3. I think Manish Pandey is somebody who's also, in my opinion, been just an unlucky cricketer in general. I think he's been the Sam Billings of Indian cricket. Last man in, first man out.
True.
Or out of the Indian side. When he's played for India, I think his average is over 40 in T20 cricket. I still remember the game against Australia when he scored 100 in the ODI.
Last ODI.
Yeah. So I think Manish Pandey offers a huge skill set. We'll get to that. But yeah, like you said, Yuvraj, and I think Vedeesh might agree, they've missed a trick with their auction.
Definitely. I think they knew that their team is not cohesive enough right now. So they have gone with an approach that we'll save as much money as we can right now and utilize the rest in the auctions. Kane Williamson, I'm very happy with that. I think he deserved to be part of that setup despite not having the best season last year. And like, if you look at how the SRH management has behaved in the past year, I am not surprised that Rashid Khan was uneager to be part of it this year around.
Yeah, I think so as well. Because when you're disrespecting some of your key players, Warner being probably one of the greatest IPL players, top 5 greatest IPL players ever, in my opinion. His numbers speak for himself. He has, I think, 2 or 3 orange caps as well. I think that speaks volumes about the nature of the franchise. But yes, moving on, we'll come to Rajasan Royals. I believe they've done a pretty solid job with their attention. I think it's not bad. Stokes being unavailable, so that is understood. But I think with Butler, Sanju Samson, and Yashasvi Jaiswal, they've invested in an experienced Indian player, a dynamic overseas player, probably one of the
Best in the white ball format.
best white ball format cricketers, and an up and coming youth. I think somebody who, for me, alongside Shubman Gill, will be one of the up and coming Indian batsmen. But when I look at their attention, something strikes me is that they've gone batsman heavy, very batsman heavy.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts?
I think there is a both positive and the negative side to their retentions, because by retaining Yashasvi Jaiswal specifically, they have made a bold statement that they're not going to be dependent on overseas batsmen completely, because this has been a problem with Rajasthan Royals over the years, that they're heavily dependent on overseas players, be it Butler, Miller, Ben Stokes, and Jofra Archer. But
even Shane Watson and Vaughan in the past and stuff.
Exactly. So trusting someone like Yashasvi Jaiswal, who has done so good in the under-19 circuit and at the Ranji domestic circuit as well, it's really positive for the Indian cricket going forward. Besides that, this franchisee has a love towards Sanju Samson, which is quite agreeable, because the kind of performances he has put up for the franchisee in the past. And Butler, like we talked, one of the best batsmen ever in the white ball format. Is a good decision, but again, like you said, it's very, very batsman heavy side. No all-rounders, no bowlers. They have a decent amount in their auction kitty, but it's going to be really interesting how they use that money in building a completely different squad that they have had over the years.
Vedeesh, what do you think?
Yes, again, my first instinct when I saw the Rajasthan Royals retentions was, where are the bowlers? Because, I mean, fair enough, you have saved enough. You're probably going to get a few good picks in the auction. But again, if you look at Rajasthan's team on paper, it has always been really good. You had Archer and Stokes playing on the same team. And we've seen what England does in limited overs cricket with those two playing consistently.
And Butler as well, yeah.
Yes, and Butler. With Stokes being unavailable, Archer also looking to play from next year, I felt it was smart from the management side to just let them go, because you would have had to invest a lot not knowing of their future in the team. So, I mean, okay, they will probably want to get their artillery towards the bowlers in the auction, but as these three batsmen, I'm happy with their selections.
So who do you, is there anybody you think in the setup that deserved to be retained, who perhaps wasn't, or are you both happy with what was done, the business that was done?
I think they could have retained Shreyas Gopal, considering the kind of performances he's put for the franchisee. He's been one of the best leg spinners. We saw a match where he got all the big three names, Virat Kohli, Glenn Maxwell, and AB de Villiers, out in the same game.
And he's not twice, I think. He's got Virat and
exactly.
AB twice. Yeah.
So he is a really, really smart leg spinner, according to me. So they could have invested in him. And besides that, I was really impressed by the performance of Kartik Tyagi in last season.
Yeah. Yes.
And he's an upcoming, speedster for Indian cricket as well. So there's some of the past the franchisee lagged in their pickups. And these are the two players that they could have gone for.
I think Tyagi is one that slipped my mind, but I agree with that one pretty strongly. I think although Shreyas has been really good in the past, I think this particular previous season he struggled a little bit. I think he didn't play a few matches as well.
Yeah.
He was in and out of the team. So, but Kartik Tyagi did impress me a lot. And he's traveled with the Indian side as a net bowler over the last couple of months as well. Definitely someone to look out for. Moving on, we go to Punjab. Now, only two picks, Mayank and Arshdeep Singh. Mayank Agrawal and Arshdeep Singh. Letting go of KL Rahul, which again I was surprised about. Given the success he's had for the franchise, I think a couple orange caps, just insane at the top of the order. We've seen two different types of KL Rahul playing for Punjab as well. One that anchors the innings, bats 20 overs, and one who scored, I think, once cumulatively, him and his opening partner scored 80 runs in the power play. So the fastest 50 again.
14 balls.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen two different sides of KL Rahul. What do you think made him want to leave? One. And only two picks. What do you reckon were the reasons behind that?
The reason for Rahul leaving Punjab Kings was the over dependency that the franchisee had towards him. Like Mayank was there, but again, it was always Mayank Rahul, Mayank Rahul. It was such too much dependency on the opening batters that he felt, very burdened by that much. Not that he cannot take the responsibility, but it's the burden that the franchisee and the team management put put on him. Besides that, the reason for retaining just two players is because they wanted to completely change the setup of the team, because Punjab Kings has not been performing well for the past 3-4 years now. So they wanted to change the complete culture of the team, keeping one of the most successful batsmen they had in the team and a good upcoming bowler in Arshdeep Singh. I think he has some really good slower ones, and he did pretty well in the last season. And
Yeah.
again, the left armor is always a good option to have.
Vedeesh?
I think Rahul was mostly looking for a fresh start. Like the team has not been doing well, clearly. Maybe he just wanted to go to a new team and try his luck there.
Yeah.
I'm aware that Punjab Kings probably tried to have him back because who wouldn't? But ultimately, if a player does not want to be part of, then I think Mayank was the second choice automatically, because he is someone who's going to be at the top of the order and set the tone for the innings. Arshdeep Singh, again, I was pretty impressed with how he did in the last season. And I'm still surprised that I think they should have had conversations with Bishnoi and try to keep him.
Yeah. I think Mayank's a huge team player. I think we can all agree with that. I think even with his performances for India, I think his commitment towards the team is incredible and his passion is unmatched. But yeah, I think given the history that Punjab has had over the last few seasons, I think, like you said, Yuvraj, the over dependency on the top of the order, the shuffling in the middle order with Aiden Markram, Moises Enrique, Shah Rukh Khan, Miller. No, sorry, not Miller. There's been a huge lack of trust when it comes to the middle order. And I think perhaps that's something that they're going to look to invest in this year. Okay, we'll move on and we'll look at Chennai Super Kings, so the defending champions. My team. So what do we think? Dhoni. What do we think about Dhoni? Vedeesh?
I think, again, they've gone with emotion, but in general, you will not find a better keeper than him. And he did show glimpses of his old form in the last season with that knock against the Delhi Capitals. So personally, I hope that he has it in him to deliver for a couple more seasons. But I'm also very happy with their other picks. I think they've gone very all-rounder heavy. Moeen Ali, Ravindra Jadeja. Those, in my head, those were two automatic selections, and maybe Sam Curran in the mix. But yes, Moeen has been really good batting in the top three, and Jadeja has proved to be a proper finisher now after what he did in the last season.
Yeah.
So I think I was a bit surprised that Faf du Plessis was not really in the mix. I would have loved to see him in that top four. But yeah, I think Gaikwad will do very well.
Yuvraj?
I personally think that having Dhoni the captain is way more important than having the Dhoni the batsman, because the amount of expertise and smartness he has and adds to the franchisee is immeasurable in any of the format. Like Chennai has come to this, whatever platform they are, only because of one name. It should be MS Dhoni. Besides that, they are entering into a transitional phase in which retention of Ravindra Jadeja was definitely one of the best decisions they could have made. Besides that, Moeen Ali performed incredibly well in the last season. Rather, it can be a revelation for his career that Chennai Super Kings provided him the opportunity to bat at up the order at number 2. And besides that, Ruturaj Gaikwad. Oh my God, what to say about that guy? Orange Cap winner, just without even getting into the Indian team and defeating the likes of KL Rahul, Shikhar Dhawan was absolutely, wonderful to see to see a youngster step up. So it was a really good picks from my side, and I think they're going to enter a transitional phase because Dhoni is going to be there for maximum this season and maybe next one. So it's high time that they find a new captain in which they can trust someone like Ravindra Jadeja from that point of view.
I think it's not unheard of teams to sometimes play with a leader who isn't performing. I think we saw Morgan do that last year. I think both teams that made it to the finals had no input from both of their captains when it came to cricketing performances. I think Morgan was a flop. I think a bigger flop than Dhoni for me.
True.
And but again, in my opinion, one of the smartest white ball captains in our generation, with the 2019 winners for England. But are we not overly dependent on Dhoni's captaincy? That's my thought process here. Because yes, he's a smart guy. Yes, I'm a huge Dhoni fan. So whatever I'm saying right now is something I don't agree with either. But I'm just throwing a question out there. With age and not playing cricket during the course of the year, playing in April and March, then playing again in April and March, then playing again in April and March, are you somewhat overly dependent on his captaincy? Do you think that you're undervaluing the position? You're undervaluing a number 6 or number 7 here. Because sometimes Dhoni hasn't even batted. He's coming in 8 or 9. The teams have needed him to perform, and he hasn't been there. Because in a limited over space, your finisher is probably one of your most important players. What do we think?
I think to cover that lack of ability that Dhoni is currently having in his batting skills, the CSK was so overly all-rounder dependent that weakness was somewhat, not seen, because most of the runs were scored by the top 5 batsmen, and Rituraj being in an excellent form. Dhoni's lack in his batting abilities was somewhat, not seen much. So I think that shouldn't be a problem, because the captaincy and the ability that Dhoni brings to the table is unmatched. So I think they are in a good space to have him as a captain as long as they can have.
But then Faf, one thing, I think Faf needs to be in the team, personally. I think Moeen, even the performances that he's playing last year, yes, he was great. But for England, it's not somebody who's regarded as a match winner. There's 3-4 players ahead of Moeen in England who are regarded as, their core players when it comes to limited overs cricket, be it Bairstow, be it Roy, be it Butler, be it Stokes, right now Livingston. So I think for me, I hope I'm proven wrong as a Chennai fan. I think Moeen was a one-season wonder. I think Faf is somebody who's been with the franchise for the past however long, and he's done immaculately well. But again, I think the reason behind perhaps picking Moeen was, do they see Faf with the team for the next 3 years? Which I don't think they do. Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Kohli. We'll move on to Royal Challengers Bangalore. Stepping down as captain. What do we think?
I mean, I think that he personally felt that this was the best decision for him, not knowing the kind of decisions which would be taken against him by the BCCI. Maxwell, again, he is someone for 4 or 5, that one miracle season which he played for Punjab in, I think, 2014. And after that, I think this was the first season where you saw Maxwell play to his full potential.
Yeah.
So is he a safe retention? I don't know. If he comes off, obviously this will be that wild card. He's a wild card pick. Siraj, I think I'm very happy to see him in the squad. He is someone who has evolved perhaps the most as a cricketer over the past 3 or 4 years. So RCB, again, I think they've gone to cover their bases. They have a finisher all-rounder, they have a quick bowler, and Kohli, who's probably going to be at the top of the order again. So I would have liked to see Chahal in there maybe, but I'm not complaining with these 3 choices. Or maybe Devdutt.
Yuvraj?
I completely agree with what Vedeesh said. I think retention of Kohli is, is automatic when it comes to Royal Challengers Bangalore. That Royal Challengers Bangalore is known by the name of Virat Kohli. Besides that, Glenn Maxwell, I think in case of Glenn Maxwell, he's found the right role that RCB has given him. Like when in his days for Punjab, he was not given the right role. Sometimes he was asked to bat up the order, sometimes to finish the innings. He was really confused about what was expected from him as a player. Whereas in RCB, his role has been consistent. He has been a number 4 batsman and maximum to maximum number 5. Besides that, he can also be used as an opener, which we saw in Big Bash. He scored an amazing inning of 154 runs off of some 60 odd balls. So he is another player who gives you a lot on the table with his bowling abilities, and not to forget what a wonderful fielder he is. So he brings all the three elements to the table. So he was an amazing retention. Besides that, Siraj, like Vedeesh said, has evolved so much under Virat Kohli. And for a franchise like RCB to show faith in a youngster is something that I really liked. And but I was really surprised by the decision not to retain Chehel, someone who has been a match winner for the franchise for such a long time and highest wickets for them, I think. So his he not being retained is somewhat that disheartened me again. But besides that, I'm really happy with this.
Because the leg spin is something that every team needs in modern cricket. I think for me, a leg spinner is the most important. That's biased because I'm a leg spinner, but it's the most important bowler in a limited over game. I think leg spinner's value depreciates in a test cricket. I don't think he's as valued as perhaps an off spinner or left arm off spinner. But in T20, when we see Rashid, we see Adil Rashid, we see who has had immense success for England. We see Chahal, Kuldeep Yadav, maybe in 2-3 years ago, Mujibur Rahman. There's a lot of success that leg spinners have. So perhaps, like, I agree with both of you. I think they missed a trick there. I think Chahal, for me, was a no-brainer. And given that they also have a space left,
Exactly.
I think it would have made sense to keep Chahal. I strongly believe they're going to go for him in the auction again and Devdutt. Perhaps they just wanted to have a little bit more money left. I think Chahal would have been definitely at around a 10 crore, 9 crore mark. But maybe they can get him for a bit cheaper, which I doubt personally. I think Chahal will go for quite a bit of money. Okay, we'll have to be quick if you want to discuss a little bit more, because I know, Vedeesh, you have to run in 15 minutes. Who are we left with? Okay, KKR. What do we think?
Andre Russell, powerhouse, automatic decision for me. They have not established a first choice captain. I think they're one of the few sides which has done this. Along with Punjab, I think Mayank is the second choice captain. I was happy to see Venkatesh Iyer in there. He performed well for that half of the season.
Over Shubman Gill? Over Shubman Gill?
No, not over Shubman Gill. I would have kept Shubman Gill in there definitely. Venkatesh, I felt there was a bit of a risk there because he's played for half a season. No matter how good he's done, if he can continue that over this season and the next one, it'll be a very good decision on their part. But to let go of Shubman, very risky. Varun Chakravarti, I personally felt that his value came down during the World T20, where he did not do very well. For KKR, he's done well, so they've gone with him. They're backing their own players. I'm okay with that. But yeah, Shubman, very big miss.
I think we're just coming to the Varun Chakravarti point. I think he wasn't used the way KKR used him in the World Cup. We saw Venkatesh Iyer open the bowling. We saw him bowling in the power play, something he hasn't done for KKR. I think, secondly, with KKR, he's always has Sunil Narayan with him as a foil, which he has here as well. So I think it's a pretty safe retention given what Sunil Narayan brings. I think spinners, I think Yuvraj will agree, being a spinner, it's never a one-man job. Spinners bowl in tandems. You need a spinner. Even if you're not bowling from opposite ends, just having another spinner there gives you a lot of confidence. You see how the wicket's behaving. You see the purchase he's getting. India didn't somewhat have that in the World Cup. I think with Ashwin and Varun, they offer a very similar dimension of bowling. They both are going down the mystery spin option. I think Ashwin experiments a lot. So for me, it was a safe bet. Narayan, for me, is a no-brainer. I think he offers you a batting and a bowling dimension. Yuvraj, what do you think?
I was really surprised them not retaining Rahul Tripathi, because the kind of performance he had in the last season, like he was a really big match winner for them in the last season. Like once Shubman got out, he was the man that the team looked towards in the semi-final as well against Delhi. When the entire team collapsed, it was Rahul Tripathi who was standing. So him not being retained, again, it was a very personal choice. I really like him as a batsman, and I consider him one of the most underrated batsmen. But I think he should have been retained by KKR.
Over Venkatesh.
I think Venkatesh was a one-season wonder. Like, agreed that he provides with a bowling option as well. But, we saw in the Indian cricket team, when he was pushed lower down the order to replicate what Hardik Pandya does, he did not achieve as much success.
But that wasn't his role, right? Like if in KKR, he's opened the batting. So you're asking someone to come into the Indian circuit. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just adding another point to consider. You're putting a young lad in the Indian circuit, which is nerve-wracking as hell, anyways.
Mhm.
And then you're asking him to emulate a role that he hasn't done. Coming in for the maybe last 15 balls of an innings is tough.
It is.
So I think
I
that
would probably not put Venkatesh's Indian performances in
in
this.
consideration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So we don't have too much time left. I want to go into what do you think each team needs. Okay, we need to be very quick with this. I'll give you the franchise name and you tell me what they need to go for in the auction and who they need to target. Okay, we'll start with Chennai Super Kings. Where do Chennai need to go, both of you?
A new opener, like someone to, come with Rituraj Gaikwad. They had Faf du Plessis, but there are being rumors that they're really interested in getting Shikhar Dhawan, which would be a really, really big grab for them. Someone with experience and provides left and right hand combination would be a delight for the franchise to have.
I mean, if they're not happy with committing to Faf du Plessis as a retention, I would actually not mind. I think they might go for him in the auction again. He's a very good player, good fielder. So I would want to see Faf in the Chennai setup.
I think that's somebody they've said as well. I think Dhoni and the Chennai group are pretty evident that Faf and Raina are going to be their first two purchases in the franchise. Some two people who just add to the core battery of the group, I think.
And I think they would also like to have someone either of Deepak Chahar and Shardul back, because it provides really real stability to their lineup.
Brilliant. Delhi Capitals, where are they going?
Fast bowlers hunt in pairs. I want to see Rabada back there. He will probably cost a lot more than what he might have from the retentions, which is a very big statement. But I think he provides the quality. I would like to see Rabada and Nokia together.
Yuvraj.
I think with the exit of Marcus Stoinis, they would be looking towards a fast bowling all-rounder with good batting abilities. So that's one area that Delhi Capitals
Someone like who? Perhaps Chris Morris going back to Delhi?
No. I mean, he did not have batting abilities like Marcus Stoinis. So I'm not having a particular player in mind, but that is one role that they need to fulfill. And besides that, yes, they need an opener as well. Like they're moving towards Warner, and if they are able to get him, that would be a real win for Delhi Capitals.
For me, I think Delhi need to get a leg spinner. I think that's very important. I think they don't have one at the moment. Chahal is on the market. Mujib's in the market. It's Adil Rashid's in the market. I think a good leg spinner is someone that every team will invest in. I think only Ahmedabad and KKR right now are safe in terms of their spin. And if you said that the IPL will be conducted just in Mumbai, we'll see the same wickets being used over and over and over and over again, and spin becomes a huge part of the IPL at that point, which we saw in UAE as well. Towards the back, I think we spoke about this, Yuvraj, that this would happen, and it did. KKR, what do they need?
I think they need a good fast bowler. Maybe go after Trent Bolt again like they did in the past, and an established captain, Shreyas Iyer potentially, or David Warner, one of the two.
Yeah.
Again, I back what Vedeesh said, a new captain, a good captain, and a stable middle order. That is something they need to target, which has been missing for the franchise over the past years.
Which Shreyas Iyer offers both of these things, a captain and a strong middle order batsman.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with that one completely. Mumbai Indians, what do they need?
I think they just need to replicate what they have been doing for the past 2 years. They need to get back as much possible players that they can from the previous lineups. And if, like, with the exit of Pandya, they need a good bowling all-rounder again to, provide support to Kieron Pollard, which he did in the past years.
Agreed. Pollard, in my opinion, is coming at 5, but after that, Mumbai Indians is not looking as sorted as perhaps it was in the past few years. And I would also like to see some good spin, because Mumbai has never had, like Rahul Chahar has done well, but you don't have that tear-away match winner in terms of a spinner, which I think Mumbai Indians should look to get this time.
Yeah, even Krunal Pandya is not somebody you back. So
yeah,
I refer to him as Akshay Patel. So yeah, Punjab. I think we'll miss Punjab because Punjab need everything. So we'll move past them. They have an opener and they have a left-arm seamer, but they need good spinners, good middle-order batsmen, another good opener, another good fast bowler because Arshdeep is very inexperienced. So they need to just have a huge ball in the market. I think getting someone like an experienced player like Trent Bolt or Warner would probably be looking good for them. Rajasthan Royals, what do you think?
Bowlers and middle order batsmen. All their retention are top order batsmen, so they need to go after the bowlers and a sorted Indian, Indian concentrated middle order rather than the dependence
Overseas.
overseas. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Vedeesh?
think they have their top three settled. This is probably going to be their backbone for the entire season. And after that, they have a big purse. I think they should go after lots of spin options, keeping in mind what you said about Mumbai, and a few paces. Again, I think it's not a very well balanced side right now from these three.
I think just depending on the top three doesn't always work. We saw that with Punjab.
Yeah.
We saw that with RCB in 2016 when they had Watson, they had KL, they had De Villiers, they had Kohli, Gale. But there was no balance. They had 5 openers or 4 people who could open the batting at 4-5.
And they had Travis Head at 6, I think.
Yeah, so that just didn't make sense. So they need to invest in solid middle order players. Bangalore.
Has to be Chahal. They will go after Chahal. And I think other spinners they might look into, Mujib, for example. I think these guys will go for a lot of money.
For RCB, I would say, if not Kohli, a new captain, definitely. And they would need a star player for each of the departments, And besides that, I believe that they can also try Maxwell as an opener. So that is one strategy that they can adopt.
I think, slightly disagreeing with you, I think Maxwell has done well in the role that he was given. I think Maxwell, like we said earlier, can be a hit and miss player. So I think shifting him from somewhere that he has trustedly delivered for RCB, I think they'll probably not go down that route. I think they need a death bowler. I think something that RCB have lacked since I've been watching the IPL. They've had incredible cricketers, but they just haven't had death bowlers. They've gone down Isuru Udana's route, which was quite bizarre. And just, I think investing in a solid death bowler, maybe someone like an Natarajan, because he's fit and playing again.
Yes.
I think that could be a good investment for them. And now Sunrisers Hyderabad.
I think they will need to pull a Chennai and get players with tons of experience, because right now they look like the most inexperienced side, because their retentions are all players who have barely played for 1 or 2 seasons. So I think with Williamson, they need a strong, experienced lookout in the group.
I completely back what Vedeesh said. A good, a change for the team is required, and with focus on, I would really like to see a good bowling all-rounder for Sunrisers Hyderabad. That is something that I haven't seen over the years. A good spin bowling all-rounder.
I think Abhishek Sharma, if groomed well, could have done that role.
But again, they let him go. So,
yeah, I think this applies to SRH, but I think it applies to every young team. I think covering each of their bases with one very experienced player, be it an opener, I think that's what Chennai worked with Gaikwad and Faf. Insane amount of experience with the youth. I think Arshdeep is a great young bowler, but having somebody with a lot of experience aside with him will just bring out the best of him as well. Even with spin, we saw Varun Chakravarti, an inexperienced lad, do well when he didn't do well for his previous franchise. I think, was it Rajasan Royals he played for before this?
Who?
Varun Chakravarti.
I think he was in Punjab for a bit.
yes.
I think it was one of these two. So his previous franchise, which where he struggled, he didn't have that support. And again, as a spinner, now when you have someone like Narayan with you, I think it helps out. It gives you a lot of confidence as a youngster when you have somebody with a lot more experience. So I think that's somewhere that they need to go down. Quickly, we're going to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. Vedeesh, I hope that's fine. Under 19 players. And I need you all to give me 2 names. Who are the most expensive under 19 players in this auction right now, and why?
Could you repeat your question?
So under 19 players in the World Cup, India just won the under 19 World Cup.
Okay.
Who do you think will be the 2 most expensive players going into that IPL auction, and why?
Rajangad Baba, one name. Like, again, a really good player, can bat up the order, can be first change bowler with his pace abilities. So really interesting talent. Besides that, Devol Brevis, the highest scorer of the under-19, and I think he's a upcoming star for South
Baby
Africa.
AB.
Baby Avi, exactly.
Yeah.
So these two names.
Vedeesh.
Actually, mine are exactly the same. I mean, to get over 100 runs more than the second guy in the run scoring charts, that's
Without even
extraordinary.
qualifying for the latter
Yeah.
stages of the tournament. Yeah.
I mean, he is a foreign, inexperienced player, so that might be held against him at the auction, but I would actually love to see him being part of a team at least. And Raj Baba, 162, I think that was the knock that defined India's contingency to actually win the cup.
I would really like him getting picked by RCB.
I think Baby AB wants to go to RCB as well. Like he said, Virat and AB are his favorite players. So, me and Yuvraj were speaking about this. I think Raj Baba could be, if groomed correctly, somebody that India have been wanting in their senior setup.
Yes.
An all-round at 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, you can bat equally as good as you can ball.
Scored 162 in the under-19. That's a lot.
And to pick up a 5-4.
Mhm.
Like that's a balance and ability that I don't think India has in an all-rounder at the moment. Even earlier we spoke about batting heavy all-rounders or bowling heavy all-rounders. I think he is a guy who can bring you balance. Okay, last question. 3 names. Who do we think are going to be the most expensive players in this auction? And actually give me 3 Indian players and 3 overseas players each.
For Indians, I think it should be Shreyas Iyer, Ishaan Kishan, and maybe Shardul Thakur.
Okay.
I would go Yuzvendra Chahal, probably Shreyas Iyer because of the captaincy that he brings along with the stable middle order.
Yeah.
And let's see, who would my third player be?
I think we're all missing somebody like a Mohammad Shami, perhaps, that we haven't spoken about.
Yeah, I would like to see one of the Indian quicks go for that kind. I think actually Deepak Chahar, because of what he has done, I think he will go for a lot. He's not being talked about right now, but Deepak Chahar is my third pick.
Yeah. And overseas?
Overseas, I think Mujib I see going for a lot. He has not been someone who's been as prominent, but he's been in good form. So I think Mujib can go for a lot.
Has he been in good IPL form though?
Not IPL form, no. But he is someone like, he's very difficult to read, and I would like to see him go for a lot of money.
Okay.
From my point of view, the overseas could be David Warner. He could go for a big money. And another name that we all missed, Mitchell Marsh. Let's not forget his performance in the T20 World Cup. Again.
And Big Bash.
Exactly. Can bat anywhere in the order, open the batting for you, lower down the order, and provides you some with useful 3 to 4 overs. And the third name that I think could be Brent Bolt. Yes. Left arm seamer, can provide you both new bowling options and death bowling. So yeah, these are my 3 names.
I would probably steer towards maybe a Johnny Bairstow, somebody we've missed. I think he's a bit younger than Warner. I think he's somebody who's been performing a lot. He's been in great form in general across the last 4 or 5 years, I think. Pat Cummins, we all missed. And I think perhaps somebody like Amit Marsh. I think these 3 will probably, for me, be the most expensive. And I think in terms of Indian cricketers, Shreyas Iyer, Ishaan Kishan, probably will be the 2 most expensive. I think all the rest, Chahar, Shardul, Chahal, will all probably go for around the similar cost. But I think we're all very, very excited for this auction. And to those watching, if you're still watching and listening, thank you. Because we'll come back, we'll discuss what actually happened in the auction early next week, if Vedeesh and Yuvraj are happy to do that with me. And we'll actually then discuss if the business was good or not. Which I think is perhaps RCB will not have a great auction, as they never do, to be honest. But yeah, thank you, boys. Really appreciate that. And Vedeesh specifically, I know you have an interview. Thank you so much for your time. Yuvraj, thank you for joining us. And we will reconvene on Monday. Have a good night, boys.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.